Oh, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another GEG South Carolina webinar. And this is a very special event because we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Desiree Alexander. She's joining us today. We're very excited to have her for Rethinking Online or / Distance Learning, because it goes by a lot of different names. Depending on where you're at and what your district is calling it. So we're glad to have you here. Let us know that you're here by dropping a comment in the chat, telling us who you are. And we also hope that you'll be very active in the chat, because I think Dr. Alexander, she's going to be asking some questions and we're going to want some responses. And so we want it to be a very active webinar this morning. So go ahead and say hi to us. So a little bit about Dr. Alexander. She is a multi-degreed educator and award-winning, and has been in the education field since 2002. And she is currently the regional director of the North Louisiana for Associated Professional Educators of Louisiana. And she is the founder and CEO of Educator Alexander Consulting. And she consults with members of several schools, businesses, and presents at conferences nationwide. And a little bit personal to me, she is also my mentor for Google Innovator, which I'm very excited to have her as, and constantly learning so much from her. So welcome, Desiree.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Well, we're excited to have you here to talk about how to rethink distance learning, because I think everybody's doing some form of distance learning. I know in my school district, we're doing hybrid, which is students are coming on an AA and a BB schedule where they are only in the building for 2 days a week, and then the rest of the week it's virtual. And then we also have a 100% virtual option.
Awesome.
And we got some people talking in the chat. So good morning, Sadler, and good morning, Stephanie, and Hope. So Hope is actually a person I work with, one of my colleagues. So good morning, Hope.
Hey.
Glad to have you all here. Well, is there anything I missed? What did I miss? What did I get you right there?
You got me right. Good. Thank you for the wonderful introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Glad to have you here. So let's get started.
Okay.
Go ahead and share. You're gonna share your screen still?
I sure will.
All right. There we are.
Okay, so are you ready for me to hop on in?
We are ready. I think it's starting. Do you see your screen? I think it's still kind of spinning on my side.
Okay. Let's see. I see my full screen, but I want to make sure you can see my full screen.
Let's see. This morning, everybody, I've been plagued with internet issues or internet or computer issues. I'm not sure exactly what I'm being plagued with over here.
And I can't see the chat anymore, but maybe they can tell us, can they see my screen?
Yes, let us know if you can see the screen here. All right, Hope says they see it. Okay, good.
Okay, good.
All right, good. So maybe I'm the crazy one out.
Tech issues happen at the worst time. I think we all understand, and we all know that. So it's okay.
Yeah. And as Hope knows, I've been plagued with a lot of technology issues. As the digital learning coach in our school, it's always bad news when technology doesn't work for the technology person.
Right, but it happens.
That's right.
So we are going to discuss today rethinking online learning. So I think one of the mistakes we make when we talk about online learning, and whether that be distance, hybrid, blended, flipped, is that we concentrate on tech tools. It's just like tech tool, tech tool, tech tool, tech tool. And we don't stop and think about the pedagogy behind the tech tools, or why we want to use the tech tools, or what our outcome, what do we want our outcome to be. So that's why I like to kind of stop and start rethinking digital learning, to ask some questions, to think about what we want to do behind the scenes before we start looking at tech tools, and also to look at digital equity as well before we start picking tech tools. So that's what I plan to do today. Since we're on StreamYard, I can't see the chat while I'm doing this. So I will kind of minimize my screen every now and then so I can go and see the chat, because I really want us to have a discussion in the chat. So put questions there, put comments there. If I say something, like put your thoughts. I always say, don't keep your genius to yourself. So if you're like, aha, and you write something down, put it in the chat too, because we can learn from each other. It's not just about like you sitting here listening to me. So keep that in mind. On Twitter, I'm at Educator Alex. If you're not already following me, follow me and let me know anything that you see that's awesome. Tag me in it. If you tweet about this session, tag me in it, anything like that. So let's hop on in. I'm Dr. Desiree Alexander. Like Jared said, I'm the regional director from North Louisiana for a nonprofit called APEL. I'm also the founder CEO of Educator Alexander Consulting. And that just brings me around the globe, usually doing this, training teachers, mentoring teachers, teacher leaders, librarians, just it really is my passion. I started my career as a 6th grade and 8th grade English teacher, became a high school English teacher, a middle school librarian, a high school librarian, and a district technology supervisor, instructional technology supervisor. So that's been my career. I've taught hybrid, I've taught AB day, I've taught distance, I've taught flipped and regular. So I kind of had my hand in the cookie jar for all of these different types. However, I've never taught through COVID. So I know that it's completely different when you're forced to do it versus choosing to do it. So let's talk about that. So this is me, all googly, all Microsofty and all that good stuff. I am flexible when I present, which means if you ask a question and we go off on a tangent, it's not a tangent, it's us learning what we want to learn. So please put questions in that chat. If you're like, yeah, that's all good, sweetie, but I want to talk about this, put it in the chat and we're happy to kind of pivot and talk about those things. So in discussing distance learning and online learning and hybrid and all that good stuff in general, what I like to do, and sometimes it's uncomfortable, to do this, but I like to kind of stop people and say, hey, you have to know what you want to do before you know what you're going to do. Okay. And what I mean by that is, again, we focus on what we're going to do. I'm going to use Flipgrid, and I'm going to use Concastify, and I'm going to use Nearpie, and I'm going to use Paradigm. Like you have all of these, like, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. But we have to stop and start thinking about, well, what do we want to do first? Like, what is the goal? Then we can go talk about tech tools. There are a billion tech tools out there. And I have my teachers getting really frustrated because there is so much out there and they're being kind of thrown all these tools and they're trying to keep up and they're trying to keep from drowning. But it's really not about that. It's still about the pedagogy behind it. So let's talk about what we want to do before we talk about what we're going to do. So 5 conditions for optimal learning when you're talking about learning online, and then 5 practices that go along with those conditions. So you have to set up the conditions for optimal learning. And then, of course, you want to be practical with it. So what are 5 practical steps that we can take tomorrow to help us start off? And we're going to talk about these first. And then I'm going to stop and, like, even between these, I may stop and go look at the chat. And then we're going to talk about some digital equity as well. So the first condition for optimal learning is exactly what I just said. Don't drown in tech tools. Use the who method. So it's the what to use, how to use it, and what's the outcome of the usage. So again, what do you want to do? So if I'm like, well, I want to record videos for my students, or I want my students to record videos as assessments. Okay, what tech tool do you want to look at? There's a plethora of tech tools to help you do that. Okay, Screencastify, Screencast-O-Matic, Snagit, Loom, whatever, and whatever, right? Flipgrid can be part of that too. So what is the one video tech tool that you want to look at? Then how easy is it to use? If it's not easy for you to figure out, move on. There's too many things out there, and there's too many good things out there. So if you can't, click around, figure it out, maybe watch a short YouTube video to figure it out, move on. Okay, so what to use, how to use it, and then what is the outcome? What do I actually want to produce with this? If you can't answer that question, why are you using that tech tool? Right? So if you can't answer like, oh, I actually want this specific thing to happen, what's the point? So use the who method when you're picking your tech tools, and then practical. If it doesn't work, stop using it. Okay? If it doesn't work, stop using it. The definition of insanity, if you keep doing the same thing and thinking something different is going to happen, right? So if you're like, oh, but they told me, when I first start using the tech tool, I have to finish using the tech. Forget all that. If it's not working, stop using it and try something else. Okay. So just keep that in mind. I also like to tell my teachers to stop being so hard on themselves. Like, you tried a tech tool, it didn't work. That doesn't mean you didn't do something right. It's just not the right tool for you. Don't be afraid to fail. Move on. Not a big deal at all if you don't make it a big deal. Okay. So, hey, class, we tried to use this tech tool. You had problems with it. I didn't like how it was. Let's try something else. Let's see if this works. Okay. And just talk to your kiddos about it and say, hey, we're going to try something new. Now, we're not going to try to use both of them at the same time. We're just going to drop that one. It didn't work, and we're going to try something new. Second condition is having clear expectations for your students. I like to tell my teachers that the classroom management that you did in the in-person classroom, and I know some of us are hybrid, but the same classroom management that you do in person, it's the same classroom management. You just have to modify to do online. Classroom management doesn't change. Okay? I like to tell my teachers when I'm teaching the classroom management class to stand at the front of your door when you're in, when you're in the physical classroom, staying at the front of your door and put yourself in the mindset of a student. As soon as you walk in, every question you have should be a routine. Every question you have. Same thing with online. Click on the internet. Every step you take needs to be a direction or a routine. Okay, so same difference when it comes to management. What needs to truly change is your instruction. That has to change. Management, you still need to have routines and procedures for every single step. And I have some of my teachers who will say, well, I don't have clear expectations. Like, my administration hasn't given me clear expectations. And I have administration that are saying, well, the district hasn't given me clear expectations. And the district is saying, well, the state hasn't given me clear expectations. And the state is saying the federal government hasn't given us. I know. We all know. Every state is going through the exact same thing. Every school is going through the exact same thing. All you can control is what you can control. So you give those students clear expectations of how they can be successful in that classroom. And if that has to change tomorrow because a directive came down, then we're going to flow into that and say, hey, kiddos, you remember what I told you yesterday? Well, this has to change just because we got a new directive. So we're actually going to do this instead of that. And we keep rolling. Okay, we are teachers. We know how to do that. Is it frustrating? Heck yes, it is frustrating. But we know how to not show that frustration to our students, how to keep them calm and control what we can control. Practice to that is, in order for you to do that, you have to organize yourself. Okay, because if you're already messy and everything is everywhere, if that district throws something else in there, then it's going to explode. So you're going to have to organize yourself. Whether you take a weekend to do that, or you do it during the week, or however you want to do it, you need to take some time to kind of center yourself and organize yourself physically and on the computer. So what I mean by on the computer is organize that Google Drive, start using folders, start putting stuff in folders, organize those bookmarks. And I can show you how to do some of that stuff today if you want to. Okay, organize those bookmarks, or organize that stuff that are start bookmarking and start using Google Drive. So or whatever you're using. Okay, Schoology, Canvas, Microsoft Teams, whatever you're using. But start organizing yourself. Also, start organizing yourself physically. So if you're in the classroom and you have to report to school to do this, start making sure that any manipulatives you need, anything that you need to show your students is in arm's reach. So you want to make sure that you don't have to get up and waste time and go find stuff. Making sure that everything is in arm's reach, whether even if you have to buy a bin and leave it all in the bin right by your desk. And then at the end of the school day, you put everything in that bin for the next day. You can even do that if you're teaching completely virtually from home, right? Not all of us have an office. So you may be teaching on the kitchen table and you have to clear it off every afternoon so your children can eat. Well, then get a little bin where you can still put everything right there. So let's say you wake up late tomorrow and you're rushing it. At least you know that all your stuff is there waiting on you, right? Those little things can save your life when it comes to online learning. So you have to get organized. Then once you're organized, you can give those students clear expectations because you kind of know that you have yourself together. So I'm going to stop right there, and I just want to see if we have anything in the chat. So I'm seeing some yes, amen. Great advice. Okay, good. So I don't see any questions yet, so I'm going to keep going.
Yep. And remember, but if you got questions, don't hesitate to put them in there. That's for sure.
Please do. And am I like a guru of this and I know everything? Yes. No, I'm kidding. No, of course not. So, but we can learn together, right? So ask questions. If I don't have the answer, maybe somebody in that's with us may have the answer. So ask.
And even the simple things, like you said, like having a bin, like I didn't even think about that. Usually I have it spread all over the place, and then I'm always dipping down and reaching.
Yes.
The bin idea, that duh, but it's just the simple things that really go, okay, yeah, a bin's a great idea.
And it's really the simple things, right? Yeah. So excuse me, I'm glad I'm not in public because somebody would go running because I'm coughing. I just need water. That's all the cough is about. Like even when I was in my physical classroom, like we would have to buy all of our supplies, and we really wouldn't get anything at some of my schools. But I would buy those boxes of file folders because I was, you gotta keep organized. But I'll buy those boxes of file folders, and what I would do is the top of the box and the bottom of the box, because of course I would take the file folders out to have folders for my kiddos. But I would use that as a storage system. So I wasn't buying all this stuff. Like I know, we want everything matching and to be cute, but so I would just use the two boxes as like when I would go make copies of stuff and tests, and I would just use those as an organization system. So same thing you can do at home, like just art in the classroom. It's just like little stuff. Look at everything and go, how can I use that? I don't care if it's like a kitchen appliance. Like how can I use that for organization? So yeah. Rigor. So third condition, when the world ended in March and we just went into survival mode, some of us kept the rigor going. Some of us just couldn't, right? We were just trying to survive and make sure our kids were surviving. So now is the time that we have to put rigor back in our lessons. I like to tell my teachers, when I was teaching in the classroom, I started to notice that the easier I made stuff for students, the less they were engaged in it. And I was like, I gave y'all all the answers to the study guide. Now you failed the test. What is wrong with you? And then I would make them like sweat and do stuff. They loved it and they got engaged. And I was like, I don't understand you kids. But we have to put that rigor back. If I come online and like everything is just like mush and I have my bed right there, what do you think I'm going to choose? Like I could just stay in bed. Like what's the point of this, right? So we have to start putting that rigor back into education. We have to start making sure that our lessons are standard based, that they're data, you're teaching through data. And we're going to talk about that in a second, how you can get like more really good data than this like kind of big overall data. But we have to start putting that rigor back into our lessons. And a practice for that is you have to get good with videos. Okay, if you've never been good with videos before, this is your time, Sally. Congratulations. You have to get good with finding videos that have content and creating videos for content. You just have to. Like you have to. Like there's nothing else I can say. Because especially if you're doing asynchronous stuff, I mean, videos is how they learn. And our students, we have a YouTube generation. I think the millennials were a YouTube generation. Now we're more of like a Vine generation where everything has to be super short for me to, get it. And what's the, not Vine, that's not what I want, but Vine is one of them. But what's the TikTok videos? So, it has to be short and to the point. So you have to get good with videos. You can create memes, GIFs if you want to. Screencastify allows you to do that. So you just have to get good with videos and finding videos. Use me as a resource. I'm going to give you my contact information at the end. I have like lists on my website. You can go and get like a list of places to find videos. I teach a class called Not Your Grandmother's Video. And, it shows you like places to go find videos and all that good stuff. So that's the start today kind of practice, is you have to get good with videos. 4, cultural relevancy. You have to start connecting your lessons to your students' lives. Again, you are competing with the bed. Okay, that's a hard competition. Even for me, I'm like, my bed is right there in the other room. It's a hard competition between you and the bed. So you have to start connecting those lessons. Like, why am I learning this? How is this important for me? And I don't care what you're teaching. You can be teaching Hamlet. You can be teaching fractions. I don't care what it is. Connect it to your students' lives. If you have to like sit and think for an hour, then sit and think for an hour. Why is this important for your students to learn? Okay. When we talk about cultural relevancy, and I have a whole class talking about that, but when you talk about cultural relevancy, it's not just race and ethnicity, because a lot of us hear culture and we think about race. Is race part of it? Of course it is. But it's race, it's gender, it's sexual orientation, it's religion, it's political, is whatever. But it's also the place that you live, right? Your neighborhood, your community, your state. That all creates a part of your culture. Are you rural? Are you urban? Like, get to know your kids. You can't be culturally relevant if you don't know what's important to them, and get to know them past the superficial. And I'm gonna give you some tips for this in our 5th condition, but start to learn them a little bit deeper, and you'll start to learn what's important to them. That's when you can start saying, you know what, I'm teaching this is this, but look, let me drop the mic. This is how it's connected to your life. This is why we're doing this. This is the theme of that, and how the theme connects to the stuff going on in the news today. So you that's what teaching is, right? My heart breaks when I hear districts or our schools talk about following the script. And I'm sorry if I'm talking about your district, but not sorry. Okay. And I'll tell this I don't work in the district anymore. Thank goodness. I probably would get fired these days. Because my heart breaks when they say like, follow the script, because I am a professional teacher. A monkey off the street can come and follow the script. Like, get your life together. So this is teaching, is when you can take whatever curriculum and standards and all that good stuff, and you can connect it to it. That's what teaching is that connection. Okay. Making it relevant. So we have to do that. It's even more crucial online. Now it's pretty doggone important in person. Do not get me wrong, but it's even more crucial online because we can't touch them, right? Not really physically touch them, but we can't touch them. We can't look in their eyes as much. We can't see their body language as much. So it's even more crucial online to make those connections, to make this important for the students. So a practice for that is using your transitions to actually learn more about your students and be a little bit more culturally relevant as well. It's not a super duper strong connection, but it is a way that you can kind of start small doing that. So when you're looking at your 30-minute lesson, hour lesson, 90 minutes lesson, however long your lesson is, you should have some transitions. And we're going to talk about the lesson plan format in a second. So you should have some transitions in there where, you know, in person, we would use music. We would use, and hopefully the music is something your students want to hear. You would use music. You would hear, you would use timers, and you can still use electronic timers. If you just go to your Omnibox and Google and type in 5-minute timer, it gives you a timer. But then right under there also gives you some YouTube timers. So you can get really nice timers to put on the screen. But just a small transition that I do when I'm teaching online classes is I'm going to use my chat. So to let them know that we're going from bell ringer to direct instruction, I'll say, put woohoo in the chat. So everybody's putting woohoo in the chat. It does something because they're physically, you know, moving, at least their fingers, they're physically moving. In their mind, it's like that cue to say, hey, we're going to something different, right? Like get prepared. You can freshen up. We're going to something different. It also helps like for your kiddos who are not paying attention. If I'm not paying attention, then I look at the screen and I see everybody typing something in the chat. I'm suddenly engaged again because I want to know what is happening. Let me hurry up and type who. I don't know why I'm typing it, but I need to listen up and see what's going on. So there's, you know, excuse me, there's different reasons for just telling them to throw something in the chat. It also helps you out a little bit to take a pause before you just like, and you're trying to get through everything, right? So it just tells you like, take a breath, take a pause. And it's also a good time for your students to say, wait. Okay. So I'll say, you know, throw woohoo in the chat, but let me know wait if we need to wait. And that's a good time for the student to go, wait, what? What did we just do? Right. And then I know, okay, I need to reteach. Because if I'm seeing some weights in there, then I know, okay, it's not woohoo. It's not time to move on. Something didn't land. Something's not right. And that only takes a second. That takes a second to just make up something that my students love. You know, I don't know what students love anymore. I'm so disconnected. But throw TikTok in the, that's all I know is TikTok. Throw TikTok in the chat or whatever. So, you know, you can make those transitions a little bit more culturally relevant as well. But if you don't have transitions, if you're like, well, I'm teaching for 30 minutes, I don't really have a transition, you're doing something wrong. You should not be direct lecturing for 30 minutes. No, ma'am. No, sir. Okay. So if that was your response, like, well, I don't really have a transition, you're doing something wrong. Okay. So that's, we'll talk about the lesson plan format in a second. And the fifth one, and then I'm going to stop and look at the chat before we talk about lesson plan format. So with your transition, with your building student relationships, this is the one thing that I'm getting the most emails about, because teachers are like, okay, when the world ended in March, I already had a relationship with hopefully all of those students, or at least most of those students. So it was a little bit easier to transition online, but now they don't know me. I don't know them. What do I do? So little things, when you're online, little things make big things. So little things like when they first come into class, right? Don't have your slideshow up. So you notice when you first came in here, I wasn't sharing my screen already. What that does is it puts them more in a communication mode versus I have to sit and get mode. So, because when I'm coming in, I'm just seeing people, right? Same thing when they walk in the classroom, they see people. Even if you do have your screen up, they see people. So you want to kind of do the same thing online. So when they come in, we're seeing each other. We're not seeing my screen just yet. As they're coming in, start saying their names. Okay. And I saw Jared do that when, hey, Tia, hey, so start saying their names. When you hear your name, it honestly does something to yourself. Even if you're like it doesn't do anything to me, I'm a mean curmudgeon. It still does something to you when you hear your name. And when it comes to our students, it's validating, right? When I hear somebody, hey, Desiree, I'm like, oh, like it kind of perks me up a little bit, like, oh, she's talking to me and she's validating me. So even that little thing, like, hey, Tia, hey, Melissa, hey, oh, Gregory, what is that in the background? I'm liking that. Those little things start building relationships. Okay, especially virtually, because again, you can't touch them. So those little things start building relationships. And I don't have to please don't spend 10 minutes doing that. Because now you've lost me. I don't want to hear you talk to Gregory. Okay. But when they're coming in, that's the time where you're like, hey. Okay, let's go ahead and do that bell ringer, blah, 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 blah. And while they're doing their bell ringing, you can be like, oh, hey, da-da-da, hey, da-da-da, right? Unless you think it's going to be distracting, then be quiet and let them do their bell ringer. But just those little things help to start. And then you're like, hey, guys, blah, blah, blah. Now we're going to hop on in and get to the lesson. And then you pull up your screen and you do what you need to do. But just those little things can start. Also, at the beginning of every school year, my first assignment was always a getting to know you assignment. It was, and I would put a grade on it. It was their first grade. I would tell them, you have to try to start this class off without an A, without a 100A. And I would give them just a getting to know you assignment. And my rule was you have to fill in every blank. So if it says, what's your favorite color? And you're like, I don't like color at all. Then put, I don't like color at all. That's fine. But you have to fill in every blank. And when I picked it up and I graded it, I would, put a comment on each person's, oh, I like dogs too. Or, oh, I didn't know. Oh, okay, awesome. Like I would put a comment and then I would start connecting students too. So I'd be like, hey, Melissa also likes cats. You may want to talk to her. So just those little things, again, validates them. Like, oh, she actually read this and she connected with me on something. And some of my students were boring. I love them to death, but I would read it and be like, what? Okay. But fake it till you make it and connect to them with something. So there you go. And then, of course, we kind of already talked about this, but having those routines, the routines can also help you with building relationships, because if you have routines in your class, it starts to help your students feel safe. I feel safe if I can walk into something and know what's going on. I mean, think about you when you go to like a new, well, let's say you're like an extreme extrovert, then this may not be a problem for you. But when you walk into, a party or you're going to a meeting and you don't know what to expect, you're more anxious. But if I'm going to somewhere where I pretty much know what's going on, I feel safer. I feel more relaxed. That's the environment that we want to set up for our students. And to do that, routines will be your answer. So even, and this is what, I've started teaching to my teachers to help them out mentally and to help our students out, is build a lesson plan and stick to it. Okay. Build that kind of hollow shell and stick to it every day. It helps the students know, okay, well, at least I know in math class, we're going to do a bell ringer, we're going to do this, and we're done. I don't know what's happening in everybody else's class, but I know what's happening in this class. Now, what she puts there is different, but I know the shell of the class. Okay. It helps you out with planning too, because you don't have to figure out like, oh, what do I do that? No, you already have your shell. Just fill it in. Fill it in. Okay. And you're done. So those routines online can help a lot. So I'm going to stop after the little summary and see if we have any questions, because the rest of this we may just, if we have questions to go to. But the 5 conditions for optimal learning: don't use every tech tool and use the WHO system. Have clear expectations. Bring that rigor back to your lessons. Be culturally relevant. Connect those lessons to your students' lives and build those healthy student relationships. 5 practices. If it doesn't work, stop it and try something else. Organize yourself and your students. Get good at creating and finding those videos. Create transitions. and create and stick to routines. So I want to stop and see what we have in the chat. Anything, Jared, that I need to kind of...
Well, there's a little bit of delay between them typing and when we see it. So
Okay.
So yes, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. But there will be a delay between when we actually see them. So go ahead and do that now. But I'm loving the ideas of the transition by putting a woohoo in the chat or something like that. I think that's a great idea for when students know when something's going to change in the middle of their Zoom or their Meet or whatever they're using for virtual. And you're right. The TikTok, the TikTok generation, or Vine generation. Vine went to TikTok, but it's true. Short clips. Like students really react better to short clips than they do 10-minute, 30-minute, videos of their teacher just talking to them.
And they're not watching it. I promise you, they're not watching it. And that's why when I teach Screencastify, some people are like, well, how do you know Screencastify? I'm like, that's awesome, but do you know how to create an instructional GIF with, with Screencastify? And they're like, no. And what I'll tell them, and I'm not going to fight anybody out there that says it's GIF. Don't stop being rude. I say GIF, and I'm going to keep saying GIF.
It's not peanut butter. It's not peanut butter.
I'm saying GIF. I'm like, if you put a T on it, it's gift. So I'm saying gift. But like if you create like a short instructional GIF, your students will watch that for 5 minutes while they're figuring it out versus watching you talk about it for 5 minutes.
Yes.
It's just the truth.
That was my tech tip on Tuesday, was how to make a GIF with Screencastify.
Yeah, better follow him. Go get those tech tips. Go get them. Okay, because it's the truth. They'll look at it and be like, wait, what did she click? Okay, I gotta wait for it to start again. They'll do that and be more satisfied than listening to you talk for 5 minutes. And that's why I have a lot of teachers who will see, like, and I know I keep bringing up Screencastify, but they'll say, oh, we can only record 5 minutes on Screencastify. And I'll go, you don't want to record longer than that. They're not listening. So, like, you can use the free one, you're fine. Now, if you want to, like, record your lesson because you're teaching it, then, yeah, of course, that is different. You would want a longer video. But they're not listening to all that stuff. They're just not.
Yeah, chunking it in small bites is the best thing. Or, yeah, if it's step-by-step, a GIF will do just that.
Yep.
Well, so far we haven't had any questions come in, but we can go ahead and keep moving. But as questions come in, I'll stop and let you know.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. That'd be perfect. I don't know why we didn't come up with that 43 minutes ago. We're all tired, everybody. Okay, so lesson plans. So of course you have like your lesson plan that you have to turn into your district. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm mainly talking about that shell of a lesson that I said, it will help you keep your brain, goo inside and help your students be safe, feel safe. So when you're talking about lesson plans, you want to think, do you want your lesson?
I told you there was a delay.
Oh, we have a question?
We do have a question.
Okay.
Hope is asking, can you give an example of a GIF being used for instruction? I can't read this morning. I know for me, it would be an example would be where if you need them to do something like 1, 2, 3. So I need you to click here, open this document, do this. So that could be a 1, 2, 3 GIF. So instead of you explaining it, it's just short little boop, boop, boop down the screen.
So when I'm teaching my Google Slides, like how to create interactive slides, I go Slides Mania, like, is ridiculously amazing. So this is what I show them. This is an instructional GIF. So you see how she's showing us how to use this. I don't have to hear her. I don't have to look at this for 5 minutes. Like, I can just see, okay, so I click on the folder. Okay, so I click on the other folder. So you see how it's just like I'm learning from it, but I don't have to hear her. I don't have to sit here for 5 minutes. Like, if I get the point by now, I can move on. But if not, I can wait for it to start again. So this is a great example of an instructional GIF where she's showing me how to use it, but I don't have to sit here for 5 minutes and hear it.
That's right. Perfect example right there.
Because usually when I'm teaching like the whole distance learning class, I'll show that and I'll be like, I'm going to show you how to create that later. So, yeah.
And you can do it too, like how to access a resource in your learning management system. So, you know, just showing sign in here, click here, go there.
And what I usually do when I'm showing it to them is I'll take my mouse and circle it a couple of times and then click it. And then circle it and then click it. And then circle it and then click it. And I'm done. My gift is done. My instructions are done.
Well, perfect question. Keep the questions coming, and let's get back to lesson planning.
Okay. So with lesson planning, I want you to think, do you want to have a vertical lesson plan or a horizontal lesson plan? So this may change the way you actually do your instruction. So with a vertical lesson plan, everyone is learning the same thing at the same time. So I need to hit this, 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 and this, and then we're done with the class. With a horizontal lesson, we're still doing all of the same stuff, but we're doing it in stations. So my people here are doing this, my people here are doing this, this, and this, and then they change stations. So we're still getting to everything, but not all of my students are working on the same thing at the same time. So that is changing from a vertical way of thinking to a horizontal way of thinking. And with this way, they're collaborating more because they're in like small groups. And even if we're thinking about COVID, they could be 6 feet apart and still hear each other. Okay. So it's not that like we feel like 6 feet apart is like across the room. It's really not. Okay. So they could be 6 feet apart and still hear each other. But then virtually, that's when you're going to use like breakout rooms, right? And things like that. So in Meet, you can do breakout rooms in Meet. It's a workaround, but I have a video on it. You can do it. And then like Zoom and all that kind of stuff, you can do breakout rooms. So you can have them all learning, but going to different stations. One of those stations is usually you with your direct instruction. So the good thing about doing it that way, especially if you do this way over like multiple days of a lesson, then if you don't need me, go start working on your project. If I already sent you a video flipping my classroom, so I already sent you a video of how to do it, and you come and you're like, I'm ready. Even if it's virtual class, you come and you're like, I'm ready. Like, I don't need to hear you again. I already saw the video. Go to your group and start doing your collaboration group. You didn't watch the video. Okay, you come with me. You didn't understand the video. Okay, you come with me. Then I have somebody doing this. So it's just thinking about your instruction in a different way. If you still want to do vertical, of course, that's fine. It's just giving you a different way to think about how to organize your classroom. And the 5 parts of a distance learning lesson. The part 1 is your agenda and bell ringers. And I put those together because you need to still have an agenda. One of the things I would push when I talked about the, what do you call that? Classroom management. I keep clicking my phone for time. I have a big clock right here. All right. Is like you should have somewhere in your room where the students can physically see the agenda. And I'm not talking about the agenda that has like, I'm teaching ELA 2.6.7. You don't even know what that means. What is the point of putting that on the board besides somebody telling you have to? Okay. Like you don't even know what the standard means without looking it up. Like, please. I'm talking about a real plain language agenda. We're doing journal. We're doing this. We're doing that. Okay. Same thing online. They should have an agenda. That file cabinet that I just showed you on Slides Mania, I didn't really show it to you, but that's a perfect way to have a weekly agenda that you can send to parents and send to kiddos, and they can click on the little file cabinet and know what we're doing every day, right? So you should have some type of electronic agenda, and then you want to do a bell ringer. Now, again, classroom management doesn't change, but instruction does. So when you're thinking about your bell ringer, instead of that being a content-driven bell ringer, that may be a social emotional bell ringer. So that may be how are you doing today? That may be who's your favorite historical figure and why. So that may be some getting to know you, right? Bell ringers. That may be some how are you doing bell ringers versus content. Your exit ticket can still be content. Your bell ringer may need to change for online learning. And then direct instruction. So, not everything can be taught with a video. Some stuff you're going to have to say, I want you to hear me say it live, that kind of thing. So that's your direct instruction. However, when you're thinking about how much time your direct instruction took in a physical classroom, that has to be lessened, because for each lesson you do, you have to give them collaboration time and time to interact with the content on their own. So you have to give them time to collaborate with each other because they're missing that from the classroom. Don't kill them. Okay, you have to give them that time to talk to their co-students. And you have to give them time to interact with that content by themselves, because sometimes that's when true learning happens. Can those 2 times be in the same block? Yes. You can tell them you're going to get in this breakout room, collaborate with your co-students, and talk about the content. So those 2 times could be together. But what that does, if you have to give them 10 minutes for that, that's going to lessen your direct instruction time. Okay, so you have to figure that out. Like, what do I need to do? Sometimes it's getting rid of some of the fluff and getting straight to the nitty gritty with your direct instruction. Or that maybe I need to supplement my direct instruction with videos that they have to watch outside of class. So agenda, direct instruction, and then, like I just talked about, the student collaboration time, them collaborating with each other, and them interacting and collaborating with the content itself. And then some type of assessment. So this is where I'm trying to change teachers' mindset of assessments. Assessments can be small things, not the Big Friday test. Okay, now can you still do the Big Friday test? Of course you can. But your assessments need to be quicker online than what you've done in the past. Okay, because I cannot afford to waste a week teaching a student who didn't get what we were talking about on Monday. Because what's going to happen is by Wednesday, that student is going to stop showing up because they don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to, like, I'm done, right? So you're going to have to do those small assessments, almost like exit tickets, if you want to think about them that way. But you're going to want to do those small assessments, and then that can direct your teaching for the next day. Okay, we have to do those check-ins. And I have my teacher saying, well, one of the biggest things that I'm concerned with is students cheating online. And my response to that is always, if they can cheat on every assignment you give them, your assignments are not valid. Okay, if they can cheat on every single assessment you give them, you need to rethink your assessments. Because my assessments are going to be varied. I may even give them a choice board that they can choose from, but not everything is going to be A, B, C, D that they can go and find the answers for. I'm going to ask them to do some writing. I'm going to ask them to create some videos. I'm going to ask them to act stuff out. I'm going to ask them on the fly questions. So I'm going to be doing stuff that they can't cheat on, right? So rethink assessments. That's a biggie. And if you rethink assessments, it's going to make you feel better, because if I do a quick assessment at the end of this class period, I'm able to see, oh, wow, Michael really did not get the point of today. Okay, well, I need to reach out to Michael. Okay, well, half my class didn't get the point of today. I need to reteach. Like, I thought I was doing good. I thought I was rocking and rolling. It just didn't land. And stuff won't land, right? Just like in person. Some stuff you teach does not land. But instead of you finding that out at the end of the week, you can find that out every day. So doing some assessments, even if they're those small parking lot type of assessments, will help you out. And then reflecting. So reflecting on the lesson, that's kind of like your exit ticket. Some of my teachers will kind of put part 4 and part 5 together. I'm okay with that, where you're doing the assessment and they're reflecting kind of all in the same question that you ask them at the end of the class period. I'm completely okay with that. But you need to have something where you can get some info about, did they get the lesson, and something where they can tell you, like, I don't like what we just did today, or I like the format that we did, keep it up, kind of thing. And that's your shell. Like, if you want to take this shell and use it, that's your shell for every day. And I've had a teacher say, well, if I only have 30 minutes, like, how am I going to do all this? And what I tell them is, remember, each part of these, this is not like 5 minutes each. Like, some of these only take 2 minutes. Okay. Agenda and bell ringer. That's as they're coming in. Like, you're not going to sit there and wait for every last student to get their oh, you're 5 minutes late, still do the bell ringer. No, you need to get there on time because we're moving on. We don't have time to waste. Direct instruction shouldn't take longer than a certain amount of time. Okay, I'm scared to say 15 minutes, but it shouldn't take longer than that's kind of long. It shouldn't take longer than a certain amount of time. Student collaboration time can happen in 10 minutes. Assessing and reflecting, again, just like bell ringer, can be those 2-minute wrap-ups. So you can do it. Also remember that there is no way on God's green earth that you're going to do everything you did in a 1-hour class in person online in 30 minutes. Stop being insane. No, you're not going to be able to do that. And I know we have some people that may be insane expecting us to do it, and that's just on them, because there is no physical way that you can fit an hour in 30 minutes. So let's stop the insanity with that. And if you need me to call them and tell them, I would be happy to stop the insanity. There's no way you can do that. So I'm mainly talking to like you putting the pressure on yourself. There's no way you can fit that in. So you're going to take your lesson. You're going to get rid of stuff that you just didn't need in that lesson. And you're going to make that a 30-minute lesson if you have to make it a 30-minute lesson. But these are the 5 parts of distance learning that can help you with that. And then I just wanted to give you a couple of tools that you can use. And I actually have this on a website. I guess you can email me. I'll send it to you. But Color Me Interested is a nice way that you can use for content. And you can also use it for getting to know you. So you see the little colors. I usually buy these little bingo chips. They're like $6 on Amazon for like 300, I think. But you can use color paper. You can use anything like that for physical. And when you're online, you can use the number system. So what I'll do is if I'm online, I'll just count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'll put all the number ones together, or I'll make sure the group has 1 through 6 together. And what I would usually do is tell them to rename themselves with their number. And they just keep that number throughout the class. So like put 6- in front of your name. So when I'm doing breakout rooms, it's easy for me to see and put you in the room. But they'll just answer the question that's here. So this is more of a getting to know you, but you can also put content here. Like if I'm ELA, I can put sentences here that they have to put commas in, or I can put 6 questions about the book. History, 6 questions about the historical event. Science, 6 steps to the lab that we're about to do. I want you to discuss the step. Math, 6 math problems. So you can use it for content, or you can use it for like getting to know you type things, or even like exit tickets and things like that. You have 30-30. I like 30-30 because you can give them, and I can send you all these slides, just email me. I don't care. But you have 30-30 where you can put a question at the top and each student talks for 30 seconds. So that is your time. You cannot respond to the student. Each student gets 30 seconds to talk. And then at the end, I give you a minute or 2 to discuss. And that's going to help your introverted students that will just, because you have those strong personalities, those introverted students who at least they get 30 seconds to say what's on their mind. And you can change this to like 1-1 or whatever you want to do. Work time, question time. So if you do have work time where your kiddos go off and work together virtually, I like to call it work time, question time, because it helps those students that need that one-on-one time with you to ask questions feel okay about it. So it's not like I'm bothering you with questions. No, baby, this is work time, question time. I'm here to answer questions while everybody else goes to work. And then fire. This is a quick thing that you can do to just kind of temperature test your students. Like, hey, what's something we talked about today that you're super interested in? Okay, and you can kind of look at the chat and see, that landed. Okay, they liked that. So it's just like something very quick to like, what are you on fire about? And they can kind of tell you. You can kind of gauge that could be your exit ticket. You can kind of gauge like, okay, so that landed because a bunch of people said they like that, but that didn't land. Nobody said they liked that. Okay, so looking at that, you got this. Remember, you are the most important thing in that lesson versus any tech tool or anything else. Your students want you and they depend on you. So just please keep that in mind. Your heart and what you're bringing to it is the most important thing in that classroom. And here's my contact information. So on Twitter, I'm at Educator Alex. That's my email address, my website that has a lot of good information on it. All other social media, I'm Educator Alexander, including my YouTube channel that has a lot of good webinars and videos. And that's my phone number. And this is how you can contact me. And this is how you can book me. And thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm on fire for this whole presentation. This was excellent. So thank you, Desiree. This was woohoo.
Woohoo!
I think woohoo is going to be definitely a transition call for me. That's
yeah, I do like 1, 2, 3, go. I'm like, put 1, 2, 3 in the chat if you're ready. And they're like, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I do different ones. I'm like, put yay in the chat. And I just comment on how they spell it. I'm like, oh, look how she spelled it. So
that's right. That's
the little things that make them excited and get them engaged.
And it's true. Teaching virtually is probably going to be one of those biggest challenges. I know when the world ended in the spring, it was a big deal, and going forward, it's also going to be a big deal. But I feel like everybody's going to be in a lot better place, especially if they watch this presentation by you and all the awesome resources you shared. Like this was great. So we appreciate it. A lot of thank yous there in the chat. Philip says, thank you so much, Dr. Alexander. Learned a lot. And is it Tia or Sadler? I kind of got confused there with the name there. But she says, what's that?
I think it's Tia. It's like Sadler, Tia, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. So, well, either way, I apologize if I messed up your name. But she says this session is awesome. Rebecca also says thank you. This was very helpful and encouraging. So that is great. I know everybody kind of has a rough mindset here or there. So I'm glad to see that this is helping. And Tia says it is Tia. So there we go. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Desiree Alexander. I will say too, in the description of the YouTube video is a link to our feedback form. And this is our feedback form here as well. And let me put that in the comments. But please fill out the feedback form. We would love to get your feedback, and we would love to know how GEG South Carolina can do more to help educators around there, including inviting Desiree back for us. What do you think, Desiree?
I will be thrilled to come back.
Yeah. Let us know if you want her to come back, because I think everybody would love to have you come back.
I am like anytime, honestly. If I'm free, I'm here. Tell me what topic that you guys want to hear about, and I'm happy to come back, honestly. And
yeah, definitely check out her YouTube channel and her website. She has a ton of resources on there. One day when I grow up, I want to be Dr. Desiree Alexander, that's for sure.
Well, thank you.
Good stuff. Well, thank you so much. I know you have other things to get to, so thank you, everybody, for spending your Saturday morning with us. Thank you, Desiree, for hosting and coming on and sharing your knowledge. We greatly appreciate it.
Of course. I'm happy to be here, and hopefully it helped.
I think so. Tia says absolutely. So that is fantastic. Well, we'll see you all later. Have a great weekend and have a great start of the school year. If your school year has not started, have a great school year. If it has already started, I hope it is a fantastic year for everybody. So have a great day. And it should be